What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to World According to Briggs. Do you like being treated poorly? If you want to raise your chances of having someone be rude to you, move to one of the states on this list. Every year, different organizations compile data on what would be considered the rudest state. Different insurance organizations track road rage and rude drivers. Call centers track where the rudest callers hail from. There are also big research firms that do surveys where they ask thousands of people where they think the rudest people live. I even asked on the community tab of World According to Briggs what you guys thought was the rudest state. And I gotta tell you, your answers were very close to what the research says. Most of the studies I read had a whole bunch of different categories we don't need to get into. We're just getting into the three meat and potato categories of a subject like this. How are the drivers? What are their callers like when they call a call center? And how unfriendly they are to outsiders and people they don't know. Some of the states even rank how their state and local governments, how they treat you when you go in to see them. If we went by that category, California would win hands down. They're the absolute worst. Go to their DMV. It is a nightmare to deal with those people. Anyone from California knows what I'm talking about. It's like every single person that works at a California DMV has a hangover, a rash, a toothache, and hemorrhoids all at the same time, and then they got to come to work and deal with people. But like I said, we're just sticking with the main three. Drivers, people that call centers, and how friendly they are. All right, let's take a look. Number 10, California. Yeah, like I said, the DMV here could win this one hands down and put them at number 1, but since we're not looking at the government agencies, they show up in number 10. Mostly it's because people there are very superficial. You know that whole laid-back lifestyle, Jeff Spicoli living in California? That's a lie. It really doesn't happen. You might find a few people like that scattered around the beach communities, but most of the state is a bunch of fake, plastic surgery, look at my watch and look at my car type people. I know, I grew up there. I was fortunate not to live in one of the neighborhoods that really gets into things like that. We were a little laid back, and yes, in my life I've experienced one or two Jeff Spicolis, but it's not like that's how they all are. California has the third rudest drivers. They are 21st when it comes to call centers. At least they're treating the customer service reps decent. And they are the 8th most unfriendly. Number 9, Rhode Island. I'll tell you right now, if we did 15 instead of 10, almost every single New England state would be on this list, but only 2 made the top 10. New Englanders are rude. If you don't believe me, go to a Red Sox game. Bunch of jackholes sitting in the stands at those things. Rhode Island really doesn't excel in any certain category. They're just kind of well-rounded when it comes to being a-holes. When it comes to drivers, they are the 7th rudest. Callers to call centers, they're 13th. And they're the 11th when it comes to being unfriendly. If you ever talk to someone from Rhode Island, they seem very unfriendly. Every single one I've ever met, they're just demeanor and the way they are. They might not really be rude. That's just kind of their demeanor. The same thing goes on in New Jersey, which we'll learn about later on. Number 8, Massachusetts. The term masshole didn't spring up out of nowhere. These people are kind of rude. Boston especially. Boston is an incredible city. It's beautiful. It's historic. They just got a bunch of jerks living there. Their drivers come in 13th. Call centers rank them at number 11. And they're the 5th most unfriendly. If you're not from there, they got no time for you. Number 7, Utah. You know, you'd think with their historic and stereotypical reputation for religion, these people would be a lot more friendly. No, they're not. They're kind of rude, and they don't like a lot of outsiders, and I think a lot of that has to do with their history and connection to the Mormon church and faith, whatever you want to say. I mean, they moved to Utah to get away from other people. You know someone wants to be left alone when they settle in the middle of the desert near a lake that you can't drink water out of. It's like they stopped there, looked at the water and said, well, this isn't a good water supply. We're in the middle of the desert. Nobody else will show up here. Let's call it home. Now, I know not everyone there is a Mormon, and I know the Mormons have changed a lot since back in the day, the 1800s or whatever. But when that's a big part of your culture, it kind of sticks with you for hundreds and hundreds of years, in lesser degrees as time goes on. Now, obviously, I just stereotyped the hell out of Utah, but I think you get what I'm saying. Their drivers rank 10th. Call centers rank them as the 5th rudest callers, and they are 12th when it comes to unfriendly. Number 6, Washington State. Washington has, a reputation for not liking outsiders, and it shows on this list. There's a thing in Seattle that's called the Seattle Freeze. If you're not involved in a group of friends, it's like it's an exclusive club. They don't let new people in. And that's a real thing. Ask anyone about the Seattle freeze, they'll tell you about it. It's been speculated that the origin of this phenomenon could stem from the reserved personalities of the city's early Nordic and Asian immigrants. Drivers in Washington are ranked 4th. Call centers rank them as the 12th rudest, and they are number 2 when it comes to unfriendly residents. Number 5, Iowa. So this is the first one that surprised me. Iowa's in the Midwest. The Midwest is supposed to be nice. Midwest nice. You ever heard of it? It ranks right up there with Southern hospitality. Iowa is blazing their own trail. Now, the call center ranking on this one, I worked at Netflix and I worked in their call center. I took escalations all the time, and I used to kind of not really hardcore track what states these callers were coming from, but I did notice a long time ago that people from Iowa are kind of rude. It was almost like that's, what they do for entertainment. They're not having a good day. They want to take it out on someone. They call someone about a movie they didn't get. This was back in the DVD days of Netflix. When it comes to drivers, they are ranked 9th. Call centers rank them number 2. And they're 6th when it comes to unfriendly residents. Number 4, Alaska. Who knew? I will tell you, in my experience going to Alaska, outside of, places like Juneau where cruise ships are coming through and everyone there works in customer service, outside when you get into the Soldotna and the Kenai Peninsula and the other places I've been in Alaska, yeah, people are kind of rude. And their drivers, hands down, some of the cutting-offest most people in the world. And yes, I just made up the word cutting-offest. If you're going too slow in traffic there, like they have traffic, or just going too slow on the road, it is not out of the ordinary to have someone in a big truck whip up in front of you, cut right into your lane, and throw a beer can out the window and give you a finger and drive on. Drivers in Alaska are ranked the 6th rudest. The call centers have them at number 8, and they are the 1st when it comes to unfriendly people. They do not like outsiders. Number 3, New Jersey. The Garden State is rude. Their reputation for rude a-holes is legendary. Many years ago, I did some video on New Jersey, and I got into the research of why people consider people from New Jersey so rude. This study from a university said that a lot of it has to do with they talk a little more abrasive than other people. Not that they're being rude, it's just the way they talk to people. The curse words are a little more frequent, not in a bad way, it's just they throw them in the sentences more than any other state. And then they said the other key thing is they get closer to you when they talk than in other states. It's like that's their thing, to be 2 inches away from your nose when they're explaining something to you. I don't know, it was weird. It was an interesting study, but that's kind of how they get this reputation. New Jersey is ranked 8th when it comes to drivers. Call centers have them in the 1st place. Congratulations, New Jersey, you're a winner. And when it comes to unfriendly people, they come in 7th. Number 2, Virginia. Yeah, this is another one that shocked me. I didn't see this one coming at all. Every time I've been to Virginia, the people are decent to me. I've never had a bad experience with them, but apparently the rest of the country has. They have seen some improvement. I looked back at a study from 2017, 2018, where call centers ranked Virginia number 1, both those years. So they're at number 4 now, and they've gotten better. I'm not sure what the backstory is to these people being so rude, but they just are. When it comes to drivers, Virginia is ranked 5th. Call centers have them at 4th, like I had said, and they are the 4th most unfriendly state to outsiders. I also read one study where it said some of the rudest people in the nation live in Virginia Beach. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. It's coming off hiatus. We also now have a website. Yes, worldaccordingtobriggs.com. There's a link down below. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, New York. The only thing that surprised me about this one is I thought they'd be number 2 right behind New Jersey. New York and New York City mainly are kind of known for having a bunch of rude a-holes. But if you look at the entire state, all their cities have a reputation for having just rude people living there. This is a state where people think the F word is a good way to greet someone. New York is ranked 2nd when it comes to drivers. Call centers rank them 3rd, and they're ranked as the 3rd most unfriendly state in the United States. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up. Help me please the YouTube algorithm. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.